Have you had this experience? Something that might be difficult to do, you remember Lord Chaitanya, it becomes easy? Or did it become more difficult? Or something that was easy to do became more difficult when remembering Lord Chaitanya. Okay, the next verse glorifies Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda, and Advaita Acharya, and all the devotees of the Lord. Then, Krishnadas Kaviraj says, Prabhur Kahila e Janmalila Shutra Yashoda Nandana Jaiche Hoila Sachiputra. I've thus described in brief the advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared as the son of Mother Sachi, exactly as Krishna appeared as the son of Mother Yashoda. So we're reminded quite often in Chaitanya Charitamrita that there is a parallel. There are, in a sense, two stories going on at the same time. There's Krishna Lila and there's Chaitanya Lila, and the one is, in a sense, reflecting the other. It's also said, somewhat related to this, that Navadvip Dhamma is present in Vrindavan Dham. It's hidden within Vrindavan. Navadvip is, of course, also known as Audarya Dham, whereas Vrindavan is Madhurya Dham, Navadvip is Audarya Dham, the place of mercy, of compassion. Actually, Audarya would come from Udara. What is it? Nobility? Nobility. Dignity, yeah. So the magnanimity, I think this is the idea. Someone who is noble-minded, noble-hearted is magnanimous. So we're reminded always of this parallel. And he says, okay, now I'm going to give a synopsis of the childhood pastimes. And he begins with another Sanskrit verse. Vande Chaitanya Krishnasya Balya Lilam Manoharam Lokikim Apitang Isha Cheshtaya Valitantaram. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the childhood pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Lord Krishna himself. Although such pastimes appear exactly like those of an ordinary child, they should be understood as various pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Isha Cheshta. So Lokika, they look worldly, but they're not. But remember, we heard the other day a verse from Kavi Karnapura saying actually the Lokika pastimes of the Lord are more sweet than the Alokika pastimes. So they appear ordinary, but actually the ordinariness is what, in effect, that's what makes it sweet. Because they appear ordinary. Balya lilayagge prabhur uttana shayana pita matai dekaila chihna charana. In his first childhood pastimes, the Lord turned upside down while lying on his bed, and thus he showed his parents the marks of his lotus feet. Okay, so here's a snapshot. You can put in your mind, and then you can move it to your heart of baby Nimai turning over and his feet going up. And on those feet, those are no ordinary feet. Those are lotus feet. Of course, I would suppose, for any parent, with especially their first child, maybe also the second one, the child is kind of lotus everything, right? It's just a bundle of sweetness, right? Even the stool is... There is this tradition, especially in India, that children are to be indulged no end when they're small. There's actually a subhashita, there's an aphorism that says that children are to be indulged until they are 5 years old, or through their 5th year, I don't know. And then the next 10 years, they should be disciplined. And then, when the child reaches 16, then the parents should make friends with the child. First 5 years, whatever they want. And then start after that to control discipline. Grihe dui jonna dekki lagupada chinna tahe shobe dvaja vajra shanka chakra mina. When the Lord tried to walk in his small footprints, the special marks of Lord Vishnu were visible, namely the flag, thunderbolt, conch, disc, and fish. Dakiya donhar chitte janmila vishmoy kara para chinagare napai nischoy. Seeing all these marks, neither his father nor his mother could understand whose footprints they were. Thus, struck with wonder, they could not understand how those marks could be possible in their home. So there's this kind of play on the idea that Jagannatha Mishra, Sachimata, and their Brahmin mother and father, and they're seeing their child as a child. But, lo and behold, strange things are happening. There's going to be more strange things happening. Lots of strangeness. Actually, this is another theme. We could say there is Vatsalya, and there's also, sort of mixed in with this, we'll see, there is Adbhuta. Adbhuta rasa. Adbhuta means, what does Adbhuta mean? Wonder. Yeah, the sense of wonder. This is one of the, according to Rupa Goswami, it's one of the minor rasas, 5 major, 7 minor. According to Bharata Muni, who wrote the Bharata Natya Shastra, there are 8 rasas, and 7 of them are the 7 minor rasas of Rupa Goswami, and one of them is Shringara rasa, which is the same as Madhurya. And then Abhinavagupta came along a few centuries later, and he added one more, namely Shantarasa. And then Rupa Goswami came and he said, no, you all got it a little mixed up. What's really going on is it's really all about bhakti. That's the first point. And so in bhakti we see 5 and 7 rasas. And there's a rich mixing of all of these, and that's what is so relishable, or one of the features so relishable. So here's already some hint of adbhuta, wonderment. Mishra kahe bala gopal ache shila sange tenho murti haya gore khele jani range. Jagannatha Mishra said, certainly child Krishna is with the Shalagram Shila, taking his childhood form. He is playing within the room. So he wasn't thinking my son Nimai is Krishna. No, he's thinking there's Shalagram Shila, and he is appearing as Balagopala, and he's running around and leaving these footprints. That must be what's happening. He's giving a little explanation of the evidence he sees. He's using pratyaksha. What is pratyaksha? Direct perception. So he's perceiving there are footprints, and he's seeing the marks on the footprints. They're not ordinary footprints. They have marks, chinna, of Vishnu, of Narayan, of Krishna. So then Krishna must be here somewhere. Where is Krishna? In Shalagram Shila. Therefore, it must be him. So this is a process of reasoning he's using, and that is called anumana. The gopis also use anumana with respect to some footprints. You know about this? They're looking for Krishna in the forest. Krishna disappeared. And then they see some footprints. And then they see another pair of footprints. And they start reasoning, so there's two sets of, that means there's two people, right? And it's not going to be two men. It's not Krishna and Bala. It's got to be Krishna and one gopi. Yeah. She kane jagi nimai koraye krandon ankelaya shachitare piyailastan. While Mother Sachi and Jagannatha Mishra were talking, child Nimai woke up and began to cry. And Mother Sachi took him on her lap and allowed him to suck her breast. So this crying of Nimai, we might say, is in anticipation of his later crying. In his most mature pastimes, he's also crying. So he's crying at the very beginning of his life, and he's going to be crying again at the end of his life. But we understand his crying here is a little different. But then again, maybe it's in anticipation of that deeper crying. Now he's crying because they are not chanting Hare Krishna, the residents. Stana piyaite putre charana dakila she chinna paye daki misre bolaila. While Mother Sachi was feeding the child from her breast, she saw on his lotus feet all the marks that were visible on the floor of the room. And she called out for Jagannatha Mishra. Now, there's no explanation here of just exactly why these marks would be so visible. I mean, was there some white powder, like we have this talcum powder for the mridanga player. If we took that and put it on our feet and then walked on this floor, then it would be very clear, our footprints. But exactly how those footprints are so visible, it's not indicated. Somehow they were visible. Dakiya Mishrer ha'ila ananditamati gupte bolaila nilambara chakravarti. When Jagannatha Mishra saw the wonderful marks on the soul of his son, he became very joyful and privately called for Nilambar Chakravarti. What do you do when you see that your son has the marks of Lord Vishnu on his feet? Call the astrologer. Nilambar Chakravarti is no ordinary astrologer. He is the father of his wife, Sachimata. And who is he in Krishna Lila? Garga Muni? Yeah, that would make sense. Chinnadaki Chakravarti Bolena Hasiya Lognagani Purbeami Rakiachi Likiya. When Nilambar Chakravarti saw those marks, he smilingly said, "Formerly, I ascertained all this by astrological calculation and noted it in writing." So he's saying, I already told you when he was born. He's no ordinary person. You weren't listening. I wrote it down. Batrishalakana Mahapurusha Bhushana E Shishu Ongedakise Shabalakana. There are 32 bodily marks that symptomize a great personality, and I see all those marks on the body of this child. This idea of there being lakshanas, batrish lakshana, 32 lakshanas, this goes way back in time in India. I believe this is also mentioned with respect to Lord Buddha. He is described as having 32 physically auspicious features. And don't ask me what they all are, but I remember one of them is long ear lobes. And so you'll see sculptures of Buddha with long earlobes. Anyone know any other symptoms? Long hands, short neck, long hands, big chest, yeah, big eyes, yeah, big lotus eyes, yes, yeah, all these nice things. Panchadirga, actually they're going to be detailed here, I think. Panchadirga Panchashukma Saptarakta this is Sanskrit. Panchadirga Panchasukshma Saptarakta Shat Unnata Tri Hrasva Pritugambhiro Dvatringsha Lakshano Mahan. This is a quotation from the Samudrika. There are 32 bodily symptoms of a great personality. 5 of his bodily parts are large, 5 are fine, 7 are reddish, 6 are raised, 3 are small, 3 are broad, and 3 are grave. And the purport explains which of these are which. Are you interested in these details? Okay, whether we're interested or not. The 5 large parts are the nose, the arms, the chin, the eyes, and the knees. Large knees, okay. The 5 fine parts are the skin, the fingertips, the teeth, the hair on the body, and hair on the head. Fine. The 7 reddish parts are the eyes, the soles of the feet, the palms of the hands, the palate, the nails, and the upper and lower lips. I mean, who does not have reddish upper and lower lips? Anyway. Someone has purple. Okay, the 6 raised parts are the chest, the shoulders, the nails, that's what it says, the nose, the waist, and the mouth. The 3 small parts are the neck, the thighs, and the male organ. The 3 broad parts are the waist, the forehead, and the chest. The 3 grave parts are the navel, means deep, navel, voice, and existence, deep existence. So, now you know. I'm just reading what I say. I don't know. This is a translation from the Samudrika, and we'd have to see what the Sanskrit is. It's not given here. Narayanera chitna yukta shri hashta charano eshishu sarvaloke koribe tarano. This baby, this is Nilambar Chakravarti speaking, this baby has all the symptoms of Lord Narayana on his palms and soles, the bottoms of his feet. He will be able to deliver all the 3 worlds. Not 1, not 2, but all 3. Like Kadamba Kanana Maharaj says, there's 3 dimensions to the Hare Krishna movement. The first dimension is the one you see, and it involves all kinds of organizational things and managerial things and problems, and and then the second level is the level of our personal practice of devotional service, our sadhana, our everything that we do personally for our cultivation. And the third level, he says, is it's invisible. It's the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that's spreading all over the universe, whether or not we are part of it or not. It's happening. It's going on. So, So here it says he's delivering all the 3 worlds. Eta koribe Vaishnav dharmera prachar iha hoite hobe dui kulera nishtar. This child will preach the Vaishnav cult and deliver both his maternal and paternal families. We might recall in Srimad Bhagavatam there are predictions about Maharaj Parikshit when he is born, about the wonderful things he will do. There are also predictions of Prithu Maharaj, what he will do when he appears, if I remember correctly. So imagine you are, a parent of Lord Narayan. And astrologer says, your son is going to deliver everyone. Okay. Mahotsava kara shava bolaha brahmana ajidina bhalo koriba nama karana. I propose to perform a name-giving ceremony. We should observe a festival and call for the Brahmins, because today is very auspicious. Am I correct? This is essentially the festival that we are celebrating today. This would be it, wouldn't it? Yeah. Yeah, must be. If it's not, it should be. Sarvalokya koribe ihandharana poshana vishambharanama ihar eta karana. In the future, this child will protect and maintain all the world. For this reason, he is to be called Vishvambara. It's interesting that it's the astrologer who is giving the name. It's not the parents. The parents will also give names. They will have nicknames, Nimai. But it's the astrologer here, who happens to be the grandfather also, who's giving the name. And the definition of this name is provided here. He will protect and maintain all the world. So in the process of surrender, sharanagati, there's anukulyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya varjana, rakshishyatiti vishvasa, bhoktritve varanam tata, atmanikshepa karpanye, shadvidha sharanagati. 6 items. Accepting what's favorable in devotional service. And then you can say built into that is rejecting what's not favorable for devotional service. And then rakshishyati iti vishvasa, having the conviction, vishvasa, that rakshishyati, the Lord will protect me. And then bhoktritve means seeing the Lord as one's maintainer. So these 2 are mentioned within this name of Lord Chaitanya. Rakshishyati vishvasa and bhoktritve varanam. And if I remember correctly, it's Bhaktivinoda Thakur says Rakshishyati. This is the core. This is the most important of these 6. To cultivate the sense that the Lord is my protector. So, who is that Lord who is our protector? It is Vishvambara. Shuni Shachi Mishrer Mone Ananda Badilo Brahmana Brahmani Ani Mahot Shavakoilo. After hearing Nilambar Chakravarti's prediction, Shachi Mata and Jagannatha Mishra observed the name-giving festival in great joy, inviting all the brahmanas and their wives. We had a name-giving festival in Oxford some years back for a devotee's child, and we sort of instituted something we found to be quite nice for the child. We had suggested to the parents that they purchase one like a guest book, a nice book with blank pages. And then all of us who were present at the event, we wrote some blessing for the child, which then would go with the child, and then, maybe later samskaras also, someone writes something. So, of course, the child has no clue what's going on, unless they're Vishvambara. But then later, so many years later, they'll be shown, just see how these people wrote so many nice blessings for you. And they will say, oh. It's, I think, a nice sort of thing that you can do in the community when there are such events. Tobe kortodine prabhur janu chankramana nana chamatkara tota koraila darshana. After some days, the Lord began to crawl on his knees, and he caused various wonderful things to be seen. So here we are with the word chamatkara, which means wonderful. Shishi panchatattva ki jai. So this kind of confirms that adbhuta rasa is present here. We might say it's there throughout, but there's a certain focused adbhuta rasa with the childhood, because the child is expected to be quite helpless, but therefore when the child does something very wonderful, unexpected, then that is wonderful. Krandanera chale bala illa harinama nari shava hari bole hase goradama. The Lord caused all the ladies to chant the holy names of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra on the plea of his crying. And while they chanted, the Lord would smile. So here's another picture you can put in your mind of Lord Chaitanya as little Nimai. He's started crawling now. And of course, when child starts crawling, that's the beginning of a new phase of trouble in child raising, because now the child is becoming mobile. The next stage is when the child learns to walk, right? Then, so much more trouble the child can get into. So here he is, crawling about, and he's crawling and crying, and he's inducing all the ladies to chant Hare Krishna. And what does he do as a result? He smiles. Tobe kortodine koila pada chankramana shishugane mili koila vividha kelana. After some days, the Lord began to move his legs and walk. He mixed with other children and exhibited various sports. Ekkodina shachikai sandeshaniya bhata bharidiya bhaila kauta bashiya. One day, while the Lord was enjoying his playful sports with the other little children, Mother Sachi brought a dish filled with fused rice. And in English, the word sweet meats has nothing to do with meat, okay? I don't know, it's an old-fashioned word. You don't find this nowadays, sweet meats. I don't think you find it in English. They just say sweets. Or confections or something. And ask the child to sit down and eat them. Ettabali gela satchigrihe karma karite Lukaya lagila shishu mritika kaite. But when she returned to her household duties, the child hid from his mother and began to eat dirt. Daki sachidaya aila kari hai mati kari laya kahe mati kene kaya. Seeing this, Mother Sachi hastily returned and exclaimed, "What is this? What is this?" You want to know how to say this in Bengali? Hai, hai. Or hayya. Actually, in Hong Kong, in Cantonese language, they have an expression. It's similar to this, but it's with a long A, second A. Hayya, they say. Hayya. But here it's hayya, hayya. Kandiya bolena shishu kene kora rosho. Tumi mati kaite dile mora kiba dosho. Crying, the child inquired from his mother, "Why are you angry? You have already given me dirt to eat. What is my fault?" Ka isandesh anna jatek matira vikar ehomati sehomati ki beda vichar. Fused rice, sweets, and all other edibles are but transformations of dirt. This is dirt, that is dirt. Please consider, what is the difference between them? Eho mati, seho mati, ki beda vichar. Mati deha mati bakya dekka vichari, avichare deha dosha ki bolite pari. This body is a transformation of dirt. And the edibles are also a transformation of dirt. Please reflect upon this. You are blaming me without consideration. What can I say? Here Nimai is making a bit of a spoof on the Chandogya Upanishad. There's a section in the Chandogya Upanishad, famous section where there's given an explanation about Brahman, and the example is being given of clay pots and the material out of which clay pots are made. It's a very simple point being made that clay pots are made of clay, so that material is comparable to Brahman. So we get this analogy idea, many such analogies in the Upanishads, especially for understanding Brahman. So now Nimai is taking that and he's saying everything is dirt, it's all mud, it's all clay. This body is clay, the sweets are clay. What's the difference? So he's kind of giving a little twist on that argument for his own having some fun at his mother's expense. Ontare bismita shachi bolila tahare mati kaite gana joga keshikalatore. Astonished that the child was speaking Mayavada philosophy, Mother Satya replied, "Who has taught you this philosophical speculation that justifies eating dirt?" I didn't teach you this. I don't think your father taught it to you. I don't think my husband is a Mayavadi. Did Vishvarupa teach this to you? Have you been playing with some Mayavadis? Okay, now Mother Sachi is going to do some preaching. Matir bikar onna koile deha pushti hoy, mati koile roga hoy, deha jai choy. Replying to the Mayavad idea of the child philosopher, Mother Sachi said, my dear boy, if we eat earth transformed into grain, our body is nourished and it becomes strong. But if we eat dirt in its crude state, the body becomes diseased instead of nourished, and thus it is destroyed. Matir bikar ghote pani bhari ani matti pinde dhari jabe shoshi jai pani. In a water pot, which is a transformation of dirt, I can bring water very easily. But if I poured water on a lump of dirt, the lump would soak up the water and my labor would be useless. So she's made her argument, and now the Lord speaks. Atma lukai te prabhu bolila tahare age kena iha mata nashikale more. Why did you conceal self-realization by not teaching me this practical philosophy in the beginning? All this time I've been confused. All these Mayavadi kids, my friends, were misleading me. And you never told me this, that there's a difference between eating sweets and eating dirt. It's amazing. Thank you. You finally enlightened me. Ebe she janilan aramatina kaibo kudha lage jabe tabe tomar stanna piba. Now that I can understand this philosophy, no more shall I eat dirt. Whenever I am hungry, I shall suck your breast and drink your breast milk. I don't suppose, well, I don't know, small children also, it's not uncommon. They will eat dirt, isn't it? Sometimes they will just grab some. Yeah. They'll eat anything. Yeah, there's some higher taste there. Etavali jananir kolete charya sthana kare prabhu ishat hasya. After saying this, the Lord, smiling slightly, climbed on the lap of his mother and sucked her breast. So that's the end of that episode. Okay, maybe we'll stop there. And this way we can see it's Vatsalya Rasa, it's also there's some Adbhuta, and well, in the ordinary sense of the word, we wouldn't say there's Madhurya here, but in the general sense of there being sweetness, I think we could say that. There's this sweetness of picturing this sweet relation between little Nimai and his parents. Yeah, what else? Any other thoughts on any of this? Yes?
How come that look pastimes are more sweet than
Yeah. I think a general reason would be, the question is, why are Lokika more sweet than Alokika, otherworldly pastimes of the Lord? I think it all comes down to the fact that the Lord is making himself accessible. And with his accessibility, he is displaying his compassion, his mercy. So in the alokika, in the spiritual, the pastimes outside this world, it's all very exclusive. It's the Lord and his eternal associates, and it's a kind of a closed club. Those who are already qualified there with Krishna. But when the Lord comes here, makes himself available to anyone and everyone, that's particularly sweet because he is extending himself in a way that he doesn't need to in the spiritual world. And yeah, that's very sweet. So there's sweetness in his, in a sense, stooping. He is lowering himself. He's descending. The word avatar means one who descends, crosses down. So he is humbling himself to appear amongst us and making himself accessible. So that's very sweet. Yes, Mats.
It appears that you have connected the name Vishwambar with Sambandha. If that's correct, can you connect other names with Joseph?
Okay, you're saying because Sambandha, because it's about these two elements of Sharanagati, that would be Sambandha. I don't know that it has to be said it's about Sambandha. Okay, it's about protection and maintenance. But I don't think you have to restrict it in that way because, first of all, Sharanagati as such is the whole idea of sort of jumping. It's what they call in English, in American style football, there's what they call an end run. So Sharanagati is making an end run. It's going around all the other processes that you would ordinarily have to do. The 64 items of Vaidhi Bhakti. Sharanagati means I surrender. I can't do all these things. I'm sorry. I just surrender. And so we could say in that sense, it's very much abhideya, but it's also prayojana, because the ultimate goal, what is the ultimate goal? It's surrender. So it's kind of all in one, it seems to me. Yes. Dirt-eating pastime. Well, we don't get exact age. We're just getting that it was just very soon after he had learned to walk. So kids learn to walk usually when they're around 1 year old, isn't it? Notice, though, that he's speaking quite some philosophy already by this time. So, I don't know. Of course, we have to expect he was a precocious child, but maybe he's already 3 years old at this time. There are different versions of this particular pastime. And one scholar did a little study comparing all the different versions, how they're different, how they overlap. Yeah, I won't go into that, but it's interesting. There are variations. He kind of makes the point that Murari Gupta, for example, he was a childhood friend, but he's unlikely to have witnessed this because he would have been even if he was there, he would have been so small himself that he wouldn't remember what exactly happened. But probably the story got around. It was something that circulated. And you know how stories circulate when they go around in a community, in a village, then they get elaborated, they get changed quite a bit. So, and what we get from Krishnadas Kaviraj, as he says himself several times, is really just brief summaries of the childhood pastimes. Sasha.
When you said that Mayapur is also present in Vrindavan, that meant that Vrindavan is non different than spiritual Vrindavan. Does that mean that also in spiritual world there is also Mayapur and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
Well, yes, why not? Question is about Navadvip being also in the spiritual world. The more specific way that's described is, as I remember, Jiva Goswami says, it's Shveta Dvipa in the spiritual world, the equivalent of the place of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes in the spiritual world is called Shveta Dvipa. Sankirtan. Yeah, they're preaching. But they're already liberated. Well, it's that's explained. Jiva Goswami says, what they're actually doing, but he says that someone may be very attached to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes and may also be attached to Krishna's pastimes. He says, no problem. You can go to both places. You can be in both places. Spiritual bodies can do that. You don't have to sort of choose one or the other. I'm sure Lord Chaitanya has it all worked out so that it's very nice. I'll let you know if I ever get there. You follow up on that. Indeed. Right then. Okay. So, yes, of course, Adi. The question is there not raga bhakti in Navadvip in opposition to the claim that raga bhakti is only in Vrindavan? That sounds like a kind of artificial restriction. If Lord Chaitanya is having eternal pastimes in Navadvip, and he is the one who is distributing, I mean, that's his whole point in coming, is to distribute prema bhakti, and prema bhakti means raga, isn't it? How can you have prema bhakti without raga? So it's got to be there. Must be. If it's not, it should be. When I was in high school, I had a teacher who used to say that. He'd be explaining some point of history, and then he'd say, so, in 1832, such and such had happened. Then he'd say, was it 1832? Well, anyway, it should have been. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Sri Panchatattva ki jai, Gaur Premanande.